When I started, my goal was to sell my practice in the next year or so. I went out of network with insurance and I could slowly see my numbers popping one by one. And I would try different things and it just didn't work. It just never really took off. And so they would fill my schedule, but nobody would ever show. I was seeing on average about 8 or 9 patients, new patients a month. And
Mhm.
I'd been burned by other companies and there was a lot of hesitation because for me, you get promised the world and then nothing
Mhm.
gets delivered and you're like, well, what the heck? And so that's where I started looking for different opportunities and different options and came across ChiroJump. And then all of a sudden, January just blew up out of nowhere. And
Let's go.
I think right now we're at about 16 or 17 new patients. I have 5 brand new patients today just from ChiroJump alone today. One of my ChiroJump patients, for her third appointment, she already scheduled her husband. He actually came in the other day and we had a great conversation and a $7,000 care plan that just, without question, signed right on. So far this year, in the month of January, we have a fifth of what we saw in new patients last year already, if you think about it. 20 new patients already in the month of January, where we had 100 for the entire year. I'm Dr. Kyle. I practice in Manassas, Virginia, and I've been here just starting my 10th year, so pretty excited to announce that. And I have been more so of a sports medicine style doctor over the years, but have kind of culminated more into holistic style of practice, gearing towards every type of avenue. So
Mhm.
on the functional medicine side of things, functioning on the sport medicine, functioning into traditional chiropractic, and tying those 3 branches that I've experienced to give my patients a very unique experience than what we typically see with the pain model doctor, where it's just come in, take care of pain, and go on. So that's been a huge transition separating myself from the traditional approach to medicine.
Could you, I think that is like a big core pillar. And could you walk through a little bit on like your situation before we linked up, like where your practice is at, what your goals are, just a little bit there?
Yeah. So when I started, my goal was to sell my practice in the next year or so. And up to that point, I had been an in-network doctor with all these insurances. And about 2 years ago, I went out of network with insurance and I could slowly see my numbers popping one by one. And so before I knew it, it was kind of like, well, what do I got to do? I've never had to market before. And I would try different things and it just didn't work. I tried things like Chiro Candy and I tried things like some of these other online fad type things. And it just never really took off. And so they would fill my schedule, but nobody would ever show, or they would fill my schedule and the people that would come in would be like, hey, I saw this thing on TikTok. I just want to see, how does it feel? What does it feel like? And it really didn't jive with how I practice. My philosophy of treatment isn't just get you out of pain. It's really maintain once we've gotten you out of that condition you've been in and prevent things from ever coming back or prevent them from expanding if it's really not something we can reverse. And so that's where I started looking for different opportunities and different options and came across ChiroJump.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that. How, I guess, like, I know you tried a lot of things before we started working together. How were you feeling beforehand, like before we even chatted about like marketing and about growth and about what to do? Were things clear? Were things not?
So for me personally, I didn't know really anything. I think a lot of us as doctors, we go to school and we get told, hang a shingle and everyone will show up. And then you
Right.
go to a city like where I'm at, and we have 93 chiropractors within a 10-mile radius. And you can hang your shingle, but the person next to you has their shingle up. And so, that style of marketing just doesn't work. And then
Mm,
as far as the stuff that I did on my own, I'd contact a company and be like, hey, what do we do? And they're like, well, you can go out and do X, Y, Z. And it might be do some fairs. Well, there's 3 or 4 chiropractors at that fair that are literally my neighbors and trying to get to those individuals. And, it was always a crapshoot or, where I'm specifically located, I'm in a bedroom community. So a lot of people live here, but commute into DC to work. And that is a big problem because I have to have my schedule set so that it's either before they leave for the office or before they go home for the night. And so, how do you market towards that? How do you attract those individuals? And so my understanding of medicine, my understanding of anatomy, my understanding of all that stuff, I was one of the top in my class. I understood all that, but the business side of it, the marketing side didn't. And I'm a part of another organization that I've loved and have grown immense protocol and how to help with being a better physician.
mm,
And that was the AMC system. But what really their thing was internal marketing, right? So
yeah.
getting just to refer patients, which we've gotten really good at, but it was still the external because at some point you feel like you're tapping out the people that are in your office already.
Yeah.
Ask them for a referral before you feel like now you're just being annoying. So you got to have those external options. I
Right.
had some ideas, but it just wasn't really in my time frame or in my capacity. So that was where I started with my journey before meeting with you guys. And there was, I'd been burned by other companies, and there was a lot of hesitation because for me, you get promised the world and then nothing
Hmm.
gets delivered, and you're like, well, what the heck? And,
Yeah.
and as doctors, we try to be trusting, and as a business owner, you have to learn to be kind of skeptical. And so it's trying to balance those two hats, which sometimes it's really, really hard to do. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so there was a little bit of nervousness coming on, but I'll tell you, it's the nervousness is gone. So it's almost we're getting to the point where I know our first month we had I think 3 or 4 new patients come in,
Hmm.
kind of going through that testing, and then all of a sudden January just blew up out of nowhere, and
Let's go.
I think right now we're at about 16 or 17 new patients. I have 5 brand new patients today just from ChiroJump alone today, and normally I only see 1 or 2 on a day. So like I'm like, okay, I gotta bear for impact. But the first 2 patients went great. All the patients that I've had, except for maybe one, and that was during our testing phase, really hasn't worked out. Everyone else has been coming on board with the next step, and we have
Yeah.
a process, right? So that first day is just understanding our patient, what's going on, and
Yeah.
figuring out X-ray wise what's going on. Day 2 is really about talking to them and showing them here's where your problems are, and then day 3 is when we present a care plan and get them to buy in. So as of right now, one of my ChiroJump patients, before her third appointment, she already scheduled her husband without him really asking. And so he actually came in the other day and we had a great conversation. And he's now
Yeah.
coming back in the next couple of days for his first report of findings and what came up of his x-rays. And so it's really cool to see that this external thing is now also helping my internal things. And it's
Hmm. Yeah.
gonna be pretty cool. And she was a $7,000 care plan that just without question signed right on. So, for me, it was like, all right. And my cases average anywhere between, some of them are like 3,000, some of them are 8,000. So I kind of range between that 4 to 5 to 6,000. But, yeah, so we range anywhere between that 4 or 5, $6,000. So for her to not even bat an eye and just sign right on and, all right, my husband's coming in next. That was a good feeling. So
Let's
you're
go.
targeting the right people. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Pumps me up. Pumps me up. Yeah, there's so many patients that can get like impacted in through all this and just through getting some external marketing in the door, just connect with a different type of person. Um, what were you like before we started, or actually before we even dive into that? Why did you mentioned that you were nervous and you had all these other problems or all these other almost like trust issues, like as a result of having to learn to not just trust the promises and all that. Like, why did you even give a chance to like what we chatted about, considering the negative experiences you've had before?
Well, I know that in the beginning we'd gotten a couple of emails or text messages or something, or maybe even I don't know if you guys sent us stuff in the mail or not, but I'd gotten some stuff in the past and I'd seen JoJo in my inbox a couple of times, and I was like, you know what? Okay, God is trying to tell me something because you know every time it comes, it's like one of those things that Joanne would normally clear out my impact, but that one always stayed. So, but I'm like, you know what? What do I have to lose? At least I can have a conversation. I'll keep my defense up and I will go through the process and see what happens. And there was a very different communication. Other companies, like I said, with Cairo Candy, there was another one that the Customer Factory, it was almost like all they cared about was closing a deal, closing a sale. They really weren't.
Mm,
And for you guys, it was more about the authenticity. It was like, hey, I don't know if I can help you. Let's
mm,
see if we can actually work together and if this is a good fit for the both of us. Because if not, you don't want to waste my time and you didn't want to waste my money. And I appreciated that. It's the first time somebody's ever actually said the same thing that I say to my patients. So it really connected
yeah.
that, okay, here is somebody who's authentic in what they're trying to do. They're really trying to help their client. And if they can't, they're reasonable. They say it. They're not going to
Mm,
just have you do something just so they can make an extra couple of bucks in their pocket. And then when it doesn't work out, well, go on to the next person. And that's where I got with this other companies that I worked with. And so I really appreciated the authenticity and the openness just to have the dialogue and communication and work through some of those things. And there was never a push. It wasn't like, oh, you have to make a deal today. It was more like,
yeah.
all right, well, take some time. Hey, you want to go talk to your partner about it? Great. Go talk to him. If you need, we'll be on a call together. We can kind of walk you through things.
Mm,
You guys made him a part of it where he's been in a multi-million dollar business that he ran for years and was able to retire young. So he knows business. So it was
yeah.
with him to be able to see that, he can call out a BSer because he's been a BSer. And uh, so it's great to see that, when he was on board, there was definitely no question in my mind. And it's been an awesome experience ever since.
Let's go. Let's go. Those words mean so much to me, seriously. I'm glad that it feels like it was authentic. Like I just do my best to be myself. So, and I know that's the same with Mark and JoJo too. So I appreciate that. Seriously.
That's why I've been referring people, like
Yeah.
people refer people when they trust them, when, people go where people go, right? And if someone knows somebody that's already doing it, I would, you know, follow along as well. And so for me, it was great
Hmm.
to have this experience. And I'm excited for Dr. Tracy to see her experience. I'm excited to see if Dr. Eileen realizes the value and jumps on
Yeah.
board and
Yeah.
goes from there. So,
Yeah. Same here. Taking a step back, what was your position? If you could share a little bit about your practice numbers and where were you at before and like, what was the goal for this year? Are you open to sharing that?
of course.
Okay.
So I always said that in chiropractic, for some reason, we always try to hyperinflate or change our numbers just because we try to make ourselves feel good about it. And
Right.
I was seeing on average about 8 or 9 patients, new patients, a month. And
Hmm.
when I was in the height of everything, I would see 40 to 45 patients a day. I had about 200 new patients a year, and we were seeing collections in about that 260, 270 because most of my insurance was being written off. And so, I would bill out all this money, but hardly get anything back. So when I dropped
Yeah.
out, then we went down to half the number of visits. And you want to talk about a hit to your ego, going from 40 or 45 a day down to 20 a day, was like, oh my gosh, we're failing, and we saw 100 patients that year as far as new. And I closed at 315,000. It was like, I was less busy, but I did more money. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And so the next year, same thing. And so it's
Yeah.
been this last year, we closed out right around that 315, 330. I really didn't have a lot of growth. I still had 100 patients. I still had about the same number of patient visits. Our collections, we typically get about $88 a visit. So that includes on the days where we do x-rays, we do testing, all that kind of stuff. So combining all that together, usually a basic visit is about $88. That being said, for this year, I'm looking to double my practice, right? So I want to get it to that at minimum $600,000 collection. I want it to be at the 200 new patients again this year. I want to get my patient volume back up to 30 to 40 a day. I worked in high volume practice prior to starting my own, where I saw 80
Hmm.
a day and I hated it. Just not the type of practice that I was looking for.
Yeah.
I know Dr. Tracy sees crazy numbers, and I'm excited to see where she goes with that. Because she's a solo doc, and I'm like, geez, I don't even know where you have time in your schedule. But
Right.
I know she's got the capacity because she is an awesome doc. And
That's for sure.
yeah. So I love that, you know, what chiropractic has to offer isn't just for one style of doctor, right? So she's a high volume that's going to go even beyond where she's at. And I'm kind of a low to medium volume, and I'm going to be able to grow from where I'm at. And
Hmm.
that speaks volumes as far as you're not basing things on speculation. It's based off of principle because it works for everybody. So for me, doubling the practice, doubling the patient, or doubling all that stuff is super exciting. And it's kind of excited me to be able to go through and, see what next month's going to bring and the month after that and keep going until we get those numbers where it's like, hold on, I can't take as many new patients anymore. We got to slow down. But so far this year in the month of January, we have a fifth of what we saw in new patients last year already. If you think about it, 20 new patients already in the month of January, where we had 100 for the entire year. So that's one fifth
Wow.
already of my new patients. So,
Let's go. Let's go.
and my closing rate, just so that I typically close about 70%. So, because
Hmm.
we have some higher ticket packages that we provide. So, I know that we're not going to close everybody, but our goal is to stick around that 70, 75%. And
Hmm.
we actually, through some advice from you guys, scary as it always is, I raised prices. And we went from $60 down or up to $65 with just the adjustment. We raised all of our stim unit or fetching or dry needling. All those things also increased. And now it's like, okay, it's going to be even easier to hit those financial goals without even having to think about it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just say like all this stuff, all the results are as a result of like you and who you are. It's like, yeah, we could do this stuff, but if you're not someone that's like committed to making the change, like the fact that you've already been like, okay, cool, let's tackle prices. Oh, this makes me nervous, but I'm still going to take action. Like I just want to put the ownership on you because like I can't build your business for you.
yeah,
You're the one building the business. All I can do is like be here and like help from the sideline. Right. I do as much as like we are trying to do as much as we possibly can, but at the same time, like the results and everything are a result of like the person you are, not anything else. So I appreciate you for that too. Like that makes things so easy. Yeah. So were you gonna say something?
yeah, you're right on board. It's the same thing that we talk with patients, right? Ownership. I had a gal in today, and her spine looks absolutely amazing. We've gotten a lot of her scoliotic curves almost perfectly corrected. She went from like 14 degrees down to 1.8 degree curve. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you did that." And I said, "No, I didn't do that. You did that. You did what I told you to do. You followed the care plan I gave you. You followed the advice at home. You did all this."
Wow.
So I said, "It wasn't me. That was you.
Yeah.
I just initiated. I'm like the vitamin to your life. I what you needed to help you get to the final goal. So
Yeah. No, I love that. I love you said 14 to 1. That's
yeah,
1.8.
yeah.
Okay. That's wild. Okay. Um, no, this is amazing. Thank you for sharing all this stuff. What is like, is there anything else that like you'd want to share with someone that's watching this right now or like considering like, oh, should I even reach out or should I even, hop on a call with Chris or with someone from Cover Jump? Like what would other experiences you've had with us so far?
Well, the biggest thing is communications. Like you guys are absolutely wonderful at communicating. I think I drop the ball more than anything. I'm not gonna lie. I get inundated and it's like there's something that comes through Slack and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't answer that yesterday. So I'm like, crap, gotta go and do that. And but you guys are great, and the reminders are like, hey, just wanted to check if you saw this. It might have got lost in the thread, and it's like, oh, that's where that was. Okay, yes, let me respond to that. So that has been absolutely spectacular. And if there was a mistake, right? Like somebody scheduled something the other day and they forgot to put the time on there. I sent out a message and within, I think it was like 30 minutes, Mark already had everything fixed and was like, okay, great. Like it's not one of those things where I've had companies like some of my EHR stuff. I worked with Chiro Touch, and Chiro Touch, like it would be 4 or 5 days before I even get a response back, and they wouldn't even understand what I was talking about, so they gave me the wrong information, and it was this long, drawn out, arduous process,
Yeah.
credit card process, right? So it's like super comforting to know that if I have a question, if I have anything within, the matter of the day, we've already gotten a response on this is what it is, this is how we're going to fix it. And if it's a misunderstanding still, it's more like, hey, let's jump on a call. Let's talk face to face. We can really work.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never felt rushed. It's always
Mm-hmm.
very calming, it's almost like having that person that just soothes us from being jump off the bridge sometimes. And it's just a very home and like family feel. It's not so much business to business. It's more like, hey, we're a family. We really want to work and make sure that you succeed. So that's a huge plus in my book.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That is like very kind. And honestly, like that makes me happy because that's one of the things I'm like, I want us to be true partners. And coming into like starting this business, it was like, hey, like we want to make sure that everyone always feels like we're on the same team here. Like there's no reason why I should ever feel like any other way than that. So
Yeah.
all this is like, I'm just glad that it feels that way on the other end. So thank you for that.
One, I love that you guys offer all types of different opinions on things, but it's never, again, it's not forced. It's more like, hey, we can do this option, we have this option. What do you like? What don't you like? And how can we customize it to you?
Mm-hmm.
Other thing that I like as well. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a great feel to know that I have this thing running in the background. I don't even have to think about it for the most part. Like you said, Jojo and I have to send him a couple of things today before our call tomorrow. But for the most part, it was like, all right, I don't really have to think about it this whole week. Okay, just got to do these 1, 2 things. Takes me maybe
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, and my part of the job is done. And you guys really
Yeah.
whack and go from there. But like you said, if I don't do my job, you can't do yours. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'll just give you a little bit more credit here. You came in with a lot of stuff figured out in your practice already. So it wasn't like starting from ground zero. So there is that. If
yeah,
it was like, hey, I have like no new patient process, there'd definitely be a little bit more to do. But like, we're like, hey, I got this locked in. I just need more new patients. It's like, okay, cool. That's awesome. But yeah, thank you for taking the time. If there was like one action step that you give to someone that's watching this that is just curious about whether to take the next step, what would you say?
just call. Literally, like that's the easiest thing you can do is make a call. You're not obligated to do anything other than just have a conversation, right? And go in with your guards high because that's how I went in, and everything really went in a completely different trajectory than I ever thought it was going to. My guard
Mm-hmm.
came down the moment that I realized the authenticity there. So just calling it, if somebody wanted to call me and just say, hey, what's your experience? They're more than welcome to give me a call. I don't care. My cell phone is 571-340-1955. Give a call. I'm
Okay.
a very transparent
I
person, which
love that.
everybody should be able to have contact to me, and I will respond as quickly as I can. But, I don't care if you have my cell phone number. So
That's so perfect. No, I love that. Thank you for hopping on, Kyle. Yeah. So if you're watching this, like, just hop on a call. Like, you have absolutely nothing to lose. We'll walk through ways that we might even be able, if we can, like ways that we might be able to help you grow to whatever your goals are from wherever you are, just help you through whatever sticking points you're at right now.